So last time in the Samatha Chanting Book series, we were looking at the Ratana Sutta, and we're now moving on to verse 4 of the Ratana Sutta. So I will recite it and then call it up and we'll deal with it in detail. Kayang viragam amatam panitang yadajjaga sakyamuni samahitu natena dhammena samattikinchi idampi dhamme ratanang panitang etena satchena suvattihotu. So I'll just share screen and call it up. Is it properly shared? Good. Yeah. Okay. So kayam, sometimes translated as destruction, slightly more subtle than destruction. Kayam viragang, kayang. It's more like a wasting away or a dwindling away. That is from the Vedic root kshi. And curiously enough, by a phonetic mutation, it became phthi in Greek. Whence we have I don't think it's much used now, the medical term phthisis, spelt Phthis, phthisis, which means tuberculosis or consumption. I think the French still use the word phtise for tuberculosis, but it's from that same root, actually meaning a wasting away. But here it's the kaya in the sense of the wasting away or gradual dissolution of the defilements and the various evils. Let me just call it up here in the oops, yeah. Yeah. I've done a note from it in the explanatory glossary, the thesis. And it's the same word. It's quite an expressive word in Pali, and we quite often see it. It's the same word as is used in ayukyati. Life dwindles away. We see the imagery of just a container gradually draining of its contents, so life wasting away. And here we see the expression ayukyati, life wastes away, dwindles away. Kilesa kyanti, the kleshas are destroyed, but the suggestion with Chianti is not an absolute and sudden destruction. It's a gradual erosion, a wasting away, and dwindling. So that's the meaning of the word here. Viragam. Viraga is and often translated as dispassion. It's from the root ranj or ranj, meaning to be colored. And the idea is that when we are passionate about something, we're inflamed either with desire or with rage, we take on the color of whatever it is that's affecting us. And the same word is used for dyeing in the sense of coloring cloth. in Sanskrit and Pali. The idea is that the mind and the emotion can take on the color of whatever is affecting it in the same way that the color of cloth can be altered by this dyeing as in coloring. Let me just call up again in the the so we get raga meaning passion. Those of you familiar with Indian music will be aware of the ragas, which is a genre of Indian music, um, where it it conveys a particular passion or emotion. That's the original meaning of it. Sri Namala in Sri Lanka. Do you use that same word in a musical sense? Because in Hindi you've got the rag. Do you use that same word
Not
in a
really, not
musical?
really, but we have heard that Virag and Viraga, because of the Buddhist thinking.
So,
I,
so how in what sense is it used in Sinhala?
no, no, we have a Ragaya and Viragaya,
Mm-hmm.
yes, but not the same meaning, I think.
Okay, right. So the original meaning is coloring, and by extension of meaning, it's the passions, and then you can have
Yeah,
the passions in a musical sense, and also
yes.
the passions in a mental and spiritual sense. Um, so and also you have if you are affected mentally or emotionally affected by something, in Sanskrit it's anurakta, and in Pali anurakta, with this anu prefix meaning according with or following or along. So if you are anuratto in Pali, it means you are colored by a certain emotion, impassioned by it, literally colored along, colored accordingly. And if you are then without passion, you're viraga, you've got rid of raga. So that's the one that is fairly accurately translated into English as dispassion. You will sometimes see the um, g and b phonemes interchanging through the Indo-European languages, and then back again, oddly enough. So, for example, the Latin word rabid is from that same root, and rabies, you know, and in fact, it changes back again to the g sound, as in French you get la rage, which is the French for rabies. And indeed, our English word rage, so raga via rabid in English back into rage, spelt with a G, spelt with a G, but pronounced as a J, rage, is all from that same root. So when you talk about somebody being in a rage, that is exactly the same root meaning passion. And people talk about being red with rage, which is very apt because the original word meant color, and here we have the v with our usual sense of separation from something. So if you are the viraga's separation from raga, dispassion being separated from rage and passion. Amata um, is the immortal, the undying. It's the one that in Sanskrit is amrita, from the root mri to die. Amatam. So as we know, the letter R is the one we write with a subdotted R. Doesn't exist in Pali. It's replaced either by A, U, or I variously. And here, so Amritam in Sanskrit becomes Amatam in Pali. Panitam, um, we've dealt with, and in fact, it's already occurred several times in this sutta. It means excellent or sublime. And I gave the explanation earlier. It's from the Sanskrit pranita, nita led or brought, pranita brought forward. So the imagery is, it's the best that you have to offer. Originally, it meant that which you offer to your guests. You offer the best to your guests, and by general extension, it just came to mean something wonderful, sublime, or excellent. So the Yad Ajaga Sakyamuni Samahito, which Sakyamuni, the sage of the Sakya clan, another word for the Buddha, Samahito, Simon.
Just on the bit about Kayam Viragam Amatang Panitang, is Panitang there qualifying all three? Or is it just the kind of sublime deathless? Because all three of them are epithets for Nibbana, aren't they? And I'm just wondering, could you do that? Could you use the same adjective to do all three? So the sublime, destruction, fading, and deathless.
Interestingly enough, I also that occurred to me as well, Simon. And I think you could I mean, syntactically and grammatically you could treat it in any of those ways, either of those ways. You could treat panitam as being an adjective qualifying kayam viragam amatam, or you can treat it as an independent noun, so that there are these four things. And I think the actual structure of the sentence, and you're right to point that out, Simon, the actual structure of the sentence doesn't tell us which. It leaves it open. How does...
On this one, that if it's qualifying the three nouns, they kind of, if you kind of squint a little bit, they almost fit the three poisons in the sense that greed would go with kayam, and hatred for viraga, the rage, about death and the end of things. And the kind of what's sublime or exquisite is the fact that these have been seen through by the Blessed One.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any one thing that is absolutely right there. But sorry, could you just, I mean, there's no of the two interpretations, but sorry, could you just run through your one again, Simon?
Well, if you have greed, hatred, and delusion,
Mm.
greed would kind of fit with kayam in the sense of the destruction of that greed.
Mm-hmm.
With hatred, the kind of rage, but it just fades away,
Yes.
appeased. And amatang, that's the delusion, isn't it? In the sense that you see through the fear of death and so on, with them all being epithets of nibbana.
Mm-hmm. And so, on that interpretation, would you have panitam qualifying all three?
Yeah, there is the kind of sublime trio that.
Okay, right. Yeah, I mean, that is a perfectly acceptable interpretation. Bhikkhu Bodhi, in his translation, just treats them as four separate things: destruction, dispassion, the deathless, the sublime. So he treats them as four separate things. But as I say, I think that your interpretation is perfectly valid. Yeah. Again, and the as I say, the form of the Pali will equally allow of either interpretation.
Is, is Panita used as an epithet of Nibbana as well? I don't know. I've not seen it used that way. But the other three certainly are. That's what made me
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
whether
Um,
Nibbana is known as Panita.
yeah. I mean, I would feel happy to give equal weight both to that interpretation and to treating them as four separate things. And as so often happens, it could well have been that in the mind of the native speaker, both echoes or the echoes of both interpretations are simultaneously present. Um, so Yad Ajaga Sakyamuni Samahito. Ajaga has the meaning of both to realize or to attain. In fact, it's from adhi, above or over, to go on to, and gam and ga, which are variations effectively the same root meaning to go. It's I think I've pointed out a root aorist. Some of you might even have looked up Perniola paragraph 83 for root aorists. Some time ago, I started doing just to map, because okay, start again. Sanskrit aorists are fairly complex, but they do follow um, reasonably precise rules. Pali aorists variously derive their various forms, almost like a pick and mix from the forms of the Sanskrit aorist. So one day, it was actually a few years ago, I decided to do a full mapping on of the Pali aorists onto the Sanskrit aorists. The document I started preparing ran to quite a number of pages more than I had anticipated. I haven't inflicted that one on you yet, but I might one day when it's finally refined and I'm fully satisfied with it. Um, at the moment, with the aorists, it's probably just best thing might be just to accept that's how it is. Ajaga is just a past tense form of adhigachati. And this is adhi aga. So adhi becomes aja. I'm going to do the equivalent of calling up my. I'm having a problem with the iPad linking to the shared screen. The kind of the sharing bit has gone. So iPad's working and the Air server is working and the shared screen is working, but somehow it's refusing to link. I have made an attempt to sort it out by asking questions of ChatGPT and so on, but the answer, I'm afraid, caused my brain to shut down. Um, there is the alternative is that one of my sons is visiting me in a few days, and I'll just dump the entire problem on him and see if he can solve it. So what I'm going to do instead is to, oops, I'm going to see if this works. It ought to work. What you should be seeing now on the shared screen is just blank white. Very good. It's at this point now that I would be sharing my iPad. So here we've got See if it works. So adhigam, um, literally to go onto, to get on top of something, and it's a word that can mean to attain. It can either physically attain or mentally attain. Mentally attain in the sense of understand something or grasp it, and physically it means to get hold of it, reach it, attain it. Um, in it makes a, an aorist form is one of the past tenses agar. You can have agamat or agar. So here we have ati plus agar. So by sandhi, um, becomes adjagar. Actually, will it help if I enlarge the... So adhi, oops, didn't you double plus that? Adhi plus agar, adjagar. And that's the word that we see, yet adjagar, which Sakyamuni, adjagar, attained, comprehended or grasped, samahito. By the word comprehended um, can sometimes be used to mean got hold of. So that has this double meaning, both mentally understanding and physically getting. There's some samahita. We have It's composed of three elements. Samadha. The root dha means to place or to put. In the early Indo-European languages, the meanings of to put and to do were almost interchangeable. Um, and another thing is, it doesn't look like it on the surface, but it's worth noting that the in Sanskrit and Pali often became turned up as an F in Latin. So, for example, dharma in Sanskrit turns up as firmus in Latin. So that it's from the root dre. Dre meaning to hold, to hold firm, which is the meaning of dharma actually, is that which is established and firm. Um, so this the root dha, meaning to do or to put, it turns up in Latin as fac, from which we get facere, to do, the French faire, and the English, and faction, manufacture, for example. It's from this, so that's the meaning of the root da in the sense of making. Also, this dha in the meaning of putting, which it has, in the meaning of making, turns up in English as our word do. So our English word to do, it doesn't look like it on the surface, is cognate with the Latin facere and the French faire, and that from that same Indo-European root dha. So sandha, sandha means to put to together. And it's where we get, for example, incidentally, when this When the root dha is used as the final element of a compound, it just flips over, it becomes di. So sandha, to put together, and sandhi means the act of putting together. And we have, sandhi, we know in the rules for the coalescing of consonants and vowels. That is called sandhi. In fact, that same word sandhi is used by linguists nowadays in respect of any kind of merger of consonants and vowels. It's become an accepted term of linguistics. So that's, and the sum, this sandha, is cognate with the Latin confec, doesn't look like it. So we talk about a confection of something or confectionery. So again, a slightly unexpected turn up. So sandhi is in fact etymologically the same word as confectionery. Now, the past participle of dha is irregular. You would have expected to see dhata asterisk there to show that the form is incorrect and does not exist. The true form is in fact hita. It's irregular. You just got to accept that is how it is. Now, let's look at back to this word samahita here. We've got some plus a plus da. Um, and the word samadhi, meaning concentration. This is again an example of where the root dha, when it occurs at the end of a noun compound, flips into a di. So samadhi. You can act this out. Right? Sa means sam rather means together, a gathering. A means towards you. So it's samadhi. You're drawing the mind together and drawing it in, gathering it in and placing it in one central point. That's the imagery behind the word samadhi. And samahita, what we're seeing here is the past participle of dha is hita. So the noun form from samadhi is samahita. So samahita means subject to or in a state of samadhi. So where we see here that Sakyamuni samahito, that means Sakyamuni, the sage of the Sakyas, the Buddha, samahito, in a state of some samadhi. This word hita, meaning originally meaning oops, placed, by extension has come to mean well placed, and by further extension and as a neuter noun, it has come to mean like welfare or benefit. So the Buddha taught for the sukhaya and hitaya of mankind, for the sukha, dative form sukhaya, for the happiness of mankind, and for the hitaya of mankind, for the welfare of mankind. So from this little root dha, which turns up in English as do, we get quite a productive generation of core vocabulary. Khayam viragam amatam panitam yadajjaga sakyamuni samahito. And natena dhammena samattikinchi idam bidhamme ratanam panitam is, that's the same as we'd have. I'll be right with you, Simon. That's the same that we've had in the previous verses. So I said this natena dhammena samattikinchi. This is poetic license. It should be natena dhammena. In prose it would be natena dhammena samam atti kinchi. So na atti, there is not, kimchi, anything, samam, equal, tena dhammena, to that dhamma. Uh, Simon, please.
Yeah, two things on here. Is there a reason why Sakya Muni has got the long I? Because Muni would normally be masculine short I. And I had a major row with ChatGPT yesterday over two issues. The other one you've got your cursor on. But it says that Sakya Muni comes through lexicalized as that. And I thought, well, it's unlikely because there was no Sakya Muni before, Pali became a kind of language that we would have concerned ourselves with. So is it just an alternative reading? I mean, it should be Sakya Muni
It should be Sakyamuni. It is and it's. Did I make a note about it? I failed to make a note about it. It's pure poetic license again. I think the poet must just have needed a long vowel for the meter. I'm just calling it up in. Um, um, yeah, there are Sanskrit meanings here. That this is Monia Williams, which Sanskrit meanings impulse and inward impulse that we don't see in Pali, but the saint, the sage, the seer, the monk, all of those things is it seems to be, it may be from also this root of mona means silence, so it originally meant one who kept silent, and it is a short e, and I'm sure that it's just a poetic license here. So sorry, can you just remind us, what did GPT tell you?
It said that it was a different form and it had come through lexicalized. So Muni was Muni with short I, but when it was presumably it's a genitive tapurisa, like the sage of the Sakyans, it has always got the long I. And I checked it and it didn't have. So
It didn't have. No, I'm surprised to hear that.
It's driven me crazy. The next one is even worse. So
Okay, so on this question of on ChatGPT and even Claude, which is a bit more advanced and much better for language, it carries on saying stupid things, and I can't remember if I told you. I just a couple of weeks ago, I was checking because I was interested in finding out, the Persian word Basij, which we've probably all heard about as the militias of the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Council. And I thought, hang on, this looks a little bit like, looks as if it could be an Arabic word, Basij, because it has the form and shape of what's likely to be an Arabic word. And many Arabic words have gone into Persian. So I double checked in the resources I have for Arabic, and that root does not exist, and it is not an Arabic word. But it is, in fact, from an old Persian word, even though on the face of it looks like an Arabic importation. So I thought I'd test Claude out on it, the AI thing, Claude. I said, hey, Claude, give me the etymology of the Persian word basij. And he said, it's from the Arabic root, but hang on. I double checked again. Claude had simply not told the truth about that. And so then I challenged it. I said, I have double checked with the highly reputable, indeed the best available sources for Arabic, and it is not an Arabic root. Why did you tell me it was? And then, like a naughty boy who's been found out but decided now to be good, it actually owned up. It said, I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't tell you the truth. I was hallucinating there. It does not come from Arabic. And then I double checked against Persian resources. Why it does that, I just don't know. It's weird. It seems that the answer it gave Simon was an equally hallucinatory answer.
I'm just trying to find the other one, but I'll try and explain it without bringing up my note on it. I'm just trying to find the note as well. But basically, in the next line, if you go back to your um, copy of the notes, you've got samati, which makes perfect sense as sama, the same, and ati, it is.
Yeah. So you would expect to see it in the neuter, samam atti.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is that in fact it's not sama but sam and atta. So it's basically with the, what was it saying it is? It's a regular verb which is samatati, but you only find it in its shortened form samati here, and it must be that because your compound saman atti won't take the instrumental of comparison, which it's got here with tena damena, which doesn't sound right to me, but that's what it was insisting, and it wouldn't back down at all. But when it got to that level, it had got beyond my level of understanding. So, I had to let it win.
Well, was this chat GPT as well?
I think it's a version of it. It's called Copilot.
Okay, right, yeah.
Is there any? I mean, I looked up the verb, which was samathati, and it's not existing in the PED. It's not there, but it was insistent that there was this verb, and that it was from basically a compound of sam together and atta. So it means like
as in objective or goal.
Yeah. Or here it was saying like the worth, the value of something.
Yeah.
Makes sense on the surface, but I must say I do prefer yours.
Yeah, and also Bhikkhu says that there is nothing equal to that Dhamma. That's what Bhikkhu has in his translation. The hallucination that you found there could possibly be from the fact that in Sanskrit there is the form samartha, which is which is capable of doing something. You are equal to the equal to the goal.
That's it. You got it. Now it told me that the samartha takes the instrumental of comparison, like this tena damena. Compound wouldn't do. It wouldn't be able to take that. I don't see why it wouldn't, but I just thought I'd.
No. I think, I mean, we kind of got to get used to the hallucinations of the AI, but equally, what actually really worries me on this one, Simon, is not so much that it gave you a wrong answer because of a hallucination, but it didn't own up and confess when you challenged it. Because on all the previous occasions when I've challenged it for cheating or lying, it's owned up and can confess. I'm a little bit worried now by what you've said. You've challenged it, but it hasn't confessed.
No, it's my fault because once it gets to a certain level, just as you said with the computer, it's so complicated. You just, do you know what? I can't be bothered with this. Just give up. So it's only my lack of understanding. And once it starts talking about, Vedic roots and the Sanskrit and bits of grammar that I don't understand, which I think, are you making this up, matey, or is this real? and I just give up because life's too short. And I thought, well, I've got James who I can ask.
Okay, this is a little bit worrying, Zai. So what has worried me here is we've got this is an instance of the AI not having confessed when being challenged, which is I think this is the first time I've heard now from you that this is happening. But I think we can be fairly sure that in this particular case it's an abbreviation of samam atti. And besides, and anyway, if it were from the say from that origin samartha, meaning capable of, you would expect to see samatam, not samati. There would be no cause for the final r to change to e there. So everything points to it's an abbreviation, nat samam atti. It is not equal. Um, the remainder of that then idam bidam me ratanam panitam we've already done an equally etena satchena suvattihutu. May there be well-being by this truth. So we'll have a couple of recitations of this verse. Before we go into that, hang on, I'm just going to draw the blind down. The sun beginning to come in over the desk. So are there any more comments or queries before we go on to the recitation? Okay, so Shri Animala, would you like to recite it for us?
Yes. Hayang viragang amatang ne. Hayang viragang amatam panitang yajajdaga sakyamuni samahito. Natena dammena samanti kinchi idampi damme ratanam panitang etena sachena swatti hotu.
That's very interesting the way you pronounce this. How did you pronounce this word?
Swasti hotu.
You pronounced it as a two-syllable word. Here it's written as a suvatihotu. Now, in fact, in Sanskrit, it would be a two-syllable word. Swasti. Swasti.
Swasti, yeah. But
in Sanskrit, it becomes, sorry, in Pali, it becomes suvati. It can also become sutti. How would you pronounce it in Sinhala? Do you use the word in Sinhala?
I had a Sinhala book only, Swati Hotu.
I'm sorry, say again?
Swati Hotu.
Okay, right. It's maybe just a peculiarity of the Sinhala pronunciation. Do you use the word in modern Sinhala, either swasti or swati or sutti, meaning well-being?
No, we never use that one. Only these gathas only, the prayers only we have this one. Hotu and everything.
Okay, right.
Sachena, swati, yeah.
Right.
Normal, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Srinimala. We're round to you, Christine. Yeah, you're still muted. There we are.
Here I am. Okay, let's have a go then. And I'm reading from what I have in my book in front of me. Kayam viragam amatam panitam yadachhaga sakyamuni samahito natena damanena samati kinchi idam pidame ratanam panitam etena sachena suwati hotu.
Right. Remember the length of the e and the o, so etena. etena.
Etena.
Not etena, but there's a in fact it's the tendency imposed on us by the phonetics of English. If we saw it written in English, we want to say etena, but remember there are two distinctly long vowels. Etena, etena.
Etena.
Exactly so. And this one here is adjaga, adjaga. Would you like to repeat adjaga?
Enchaga.
Adjaga, right?
Enchaga.
Adjaga.
En.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Christine. So before we go on, let's have one more before we go on. Sarah, your turn.
Okay. Kayam viragam amatum panitum yad achaga sakyamuni samahito
Very good.
natena damena samati kinchi idampi dame ratanam panitam etena sachena suvati hotu.
Okay, very good. It was just I was going to call you up on something. Uh, yeah. So where we've got, for example, samati. Remember, keep the vowel short, but the distinct doubling of the consonant. You were saying something like samati, samati, samati.
Samati.
Okay, right. And it's very much like in Italian. It was in Italian, if it was a doubled consonant, they really hold it long. You can hear it, some spaghetti. You know, they really hold that double. You know, no, it's doubled. And it's very much the same in Sanskrit and Pali. If it's written double, you distinctly hear it. Equally with ajaga, not ajaga, but ajaga.
Ajaga.
Exactly so. Very good. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more and then we'll move on to the next one. Anne, would you like to have a go for us?
Kayam viragam amatam panitam yad ajaga sakyamuni samahito natena damena samati kensi idampi dame ratanam panitam etena sachena suvati hotu.
Can you just say this suvati again?
Suvati hotu.
Okay, being very careful to hold that double T, suvati.
Suvati hotu.
In fact, as many of you may know the Thai greeting, Sawati, Sawati Krap, Sawati. It's from, in fact, that's the Thai pronunciation of the Sanskrit Swasti, which means well-being. And it's from that same Swasti that the Pali is Suvati. So it's all that same word, just from Su, well, good, and Asti, being, from the root as.
Good.
Okay, thank you then, Anne. So we can move on to verse 5. Yam buddha setto parivannayi suching samadhim anantarikanyam ahu. Bit of a mouthful, that word. Samadhinatena samo navijjati idam bidhamme ratanam panitam. So I'll just try the first line again, try not to trip myself up over it. Yam buddha setto parivannayi suchim samadhim anantara kanyamahu samadhinatena samo navijjati idam bidhamme ratanam panitam. By the way, on the discussion we were having and the false answer given by the AI system to Simon, in the Samati, Natina Dhamena Samati Kinchi, the interpretation that we've arrived at is in fact reinforced by this, by how it's expressed here, Samo Navijati, which essentially is saying the same thing as Samati. But here we're seeing Samo in the masculine form because Samadhi is a masculine noun. And the fact that it's expressed in this way, unambiguously, Samo Navijati, does strongly reinforce the interpretation. Maybe you could, at some stage, Simon, if you feel up to it, throw that back as a challenge to the artificial intelligence and say, isn't this just a grammatical variation in verse 5 of exactly that same expression in verse 4? So Vijeti, Vijeti is I haven't dealt with it in here. I know I've dealt with it before. It's the same, something Vijati, most often found in the negated form. Negated, navijati, meaning it's the French, there is not, it does not exist. It's the same as the French, il n'y en a pas. In Spanish, no hay. It is the passive form from the root vid, meaning to know. It is not known, therefore it does not exist. Navijati. So in the form it does not exist. Let me just explain. Oh, why it's gone on to, done something funny here. There we are. Vijati, and more commonly, navijati. It does not exist. It is not seen. We've got the root vid that we all know. We want to make a passive out of it, so we've got the root plus ya for the passive, plus the person ending, the atmanepada, the reflexive or medial personal ending. So in Sanskrit, we have vidyate, literally, it is known or it is found. And it is this vidyate that by regular phonetic mutation, becomes vidyati in Pali. So just put this up in my usual red for the Sanskrit and green for the Pali. And as I say, it's a very commonly found expression, particularly negated. You see it in Sanskrit and in Pali. Navidyate in Sanskrit, navijati in Pali means it doesn't exist. Il n'y en a pas. So samo, that is, there samadhinatena samo navijati. There does not exist a samadhi samotena samadhina. There does not exist a samadhi unspoken equal to that samadhi. So this first line, Yam Buddhasetto Parivannai Suchim Samadhim Anantarikanyamahu. This Anantarikanyam, steal the rest first, that which, that supreme, that suchim, that purity. Suchi is originally an adjective, and it's most often used as an adjective, suchi, in Sanskrit, shuchi. But it's sometimes used as a noun, so suchi meaning purity. Parivannayi is a past tense form, parivanneti, meaning to praise. I've given an explanation for those of you who want to go into it further in the explanatory glossary. So, which samadhi the Buddha praised? In English, we say that samadhi that the Buddha praised. The Buddha Setto, that best of Buddhas. So that samadhi that the best of Buddhas praised. That purity, Yam Buddha Setto Parivarne Suchim, that purity that the best of Buddhas praised. Yam Ahu, which they have said, literally, or that we could translate in English as that which is called Yang Ahu, that which Ahu they have said. They have said as an impersonal now, meaning it has been called, it has been referred to as, it is known as. So Ahu is just the past tense of the verb aha, to say. Simon.
2 points here. When you say Buddha Setto, is that saying in effect the best thing which happens to be a Buddha, or is it saying the best Buddha out of the long line of Buddhas? You know, our Buddha in this dispensation is the best of the bunch. Which way round does the compound go?
I have interpreted it as being the latter one, the best of the bunch. However, I'm not quite sure whether he ever attributed that particular quality to himself. He certainly said that he was a Buddha, but I'm not aware that he ever said that he was better than the previous ones. Are you familiar with any such assertion made? I don't think so either. So I think it has to linguistically it has to mean the Buddha Setto, the best of Buddhas. What was the other interpretation you gave to it?
Setto just mean like the best thing, like
That's right. Yes.
It's like the best thing which is a Buddha. So like a Kammadara, like
yeah, that doesn't quite gel with me. I mean, I can see what you mean, but it doesn't quite gel. So, sorry, go on.
Sorry, were you going to continue with that one?
Yeah, what I'll do then, we've just gone 4, so we'll have our break, and then after we're back, we'll actually analyze this word sector, and then deal with the rest of the verse. So what we'll do then, we'll have our break now. Just pause the record. Okay. when you were asking about, just for the benefit of those who are seeing this afterwards online, we forgot to resume the recording about 15 minutes ago. Sarah Price was asking about these long words. Were you looking at this Samadhimanam Tarikam Kanyamahu? That one? Okay.
Yes.
Which I've broken down here as Samadhim Anyantarikam Nyamahu.
And it's broken down even further in our chanting book.
Samadhim Anantarikam Nyamahu. Yes, okay. Okay, let me explain here. It's all written as one word here, very unhelpfully you might think, but in fact, not as unhelpful as you might have thought. That's my deliberate ploy. What I've done here, you'll see that I've written it all in Devanagari in the first box. Now, according to the rules of the Devanagari script, some words are just written together without a gap in between them. And the reason is, if you look here, Samadhim Anantarikam, here I've put a gap where my cursor is now, because they are two different words. They're two separate words. Samadhim Anantarikam. They are two separate words. In Devanagari, Samadhima, this is the ima here. In Samadhi, purely as a spelling convention, nothing to do with the grammar, purely as a spelling, a writing convention, they are written as one. Samadhima, written as one word. That is a matter of spelling only. They are two entirely separate words. And similarly, Anantarikam Yam, here is Anantarikam Yam Ahu. Again, they are two separate words, but they've been merged together in the Devanagari. Equally, I'll be right back to you, Simon. Equally, Yam Ahu, because you get a word ending in an M and the next word ending in a consonant and the next word beginning with a vowel, they're written as one. The spelling merges in. They coalesce as a matter of writing in the script, in the Devanagari script. So Samadhim Anantarikam Yam Ahu is four separate words, but because of the spelling convention, all written as one. Now, what I've done in the first box, I've written it as it would be written correctly in Devanagari script. In the second box, what I have done, and this is partially to assist those who want to read it in the Devanagari script, I've written it with the word divisions exactly as they appear in Devanagari. So I've written this as all one word, simply to assist those who are trying to follow the Devanagari script. You can completely ignore this first box of the Roman. So what I've done here, Samadhim Anantarikam, in fact, I could even have split that into two words. So this now just splits it into a more recognizable word pattern. So don't worry about that, Sarah. It's purely a feature of the Devanagari script.
That's clear. Thank you.
And you do find, not so much in Pali, but more in Sanskrit. That doesn't always happen. It just depends what word is meeting what word next. But occasionally you're going to find an entire line of poetry will be one solid block in the Devanagari script, without any visible break in between, even though they are separate, recognizably separate words. But the answer is yes, depending on what letter is joining what letter they can. There is no theoretical limit.
No, right.
But it's not a compound word. I emphasize that's purely a spelling convention. Now, go to the other example that you gave, our fifth precept, Sura Mere Majapamada Tana. They are separate words, but joined together in a compound. Equally, because it's a compound word, they are joined together as if there were no break in the Devanagari script. We occasionally do it in English, and there's no rule about how it's done. For example, in English, we have the word rail, as in rails that a train runs on, and we have way. When we make compound words in English, we can either write them as two separate words, or we can write them with a hyphen, or we can run them into one word. So in the case of the word railway, we can see it's distinctly two words, but just written, and we all now accept it's written as one word. In all of the scripts, all the ones that I know that represent Sanskrit and Pali, all of the Eastern scripts, compounds are written as one word. In English, we put hyphens in. We got so in the fifth precept. I'm just turning it up in our book here. In the at the bottom of page 2 in our chanting book, Sura Merya Majja Pamada Tana 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hyphens are put there simply to assist the English reader. It's purely a matter of writing convention. There's no magic in it.
Yeah, I guess English avoids long words. Maybe we're...
English does tend to avoid long words and long compounds, whereas by contrast, for example, German seems to like them. Sanskrit and Pali allow long compounds. But we can make long compounds in English. We can make compounds several words long, which the foreigner might be puzzled initially, but we just get so used to them we don't even realize we're doing it. So, for example, railway station is a word compounded of three words: railway station, railway station. We can further make a compound by talking about the railway station car park, which is a 5-word compound now. And you can also talk about the railway station car park ticket machine, which is that a 7-word compound now? But no English speaker has a problem with the railway station car park ticket machine. We're okay with that. But that's quite rare that you can make a word that long in English. But it's very common to have compound words of that length in Sanskrit.
But we would write it with spaces.
We would write it with spaces, yes. But in Sanskrit, Pali, Sinhala, and Thai, it would not be written with spaces.
So because it's one thing. It all gets rolled together.
Yes, not only does it all get run together as one word, but also in the grammatical declensions of the word, the nominative, accusative, instrumental, and so on. It's only the last member of the compound that is declined.
Yeah.
So just as we, for example, talk about a railway station, a station for the way made of rails, we could clumsily split it up like that, but we don't. In the plural of it, we don't talk about railways stations, just railway stations. So in these compounds, it's only the last member of it that gets declined. Remember, some compounds Surameria Majja, for example, you get compounds within compounds. So in our Surameria Majja, which are the three forms of alcoholic drink, you can talk about, this is called a dwandwa compound, literally a doubling compound. So it's where in English we'd have to put a comma or an and. So beers, comma, wines and spirits. Beers, comma, wines and spirits is how we'd have to say it in English. But in Sanskrit and Pali, you can just say beer, wine, spirits. Write it all as one word. You just have to know what kind of compound it is. Normally, you intuitively know.
Great, thank you.
Right. But in Surameria Majjapamadana, you've got a compound within a compound, which you very often have, rather the same as English. You get the railway station car park. So car park is a place where you park your cars. You have a station, a particular type of station, the railway station. What kind of way? A way made by rail. So the relationship between railway, then the relationship between railway and station. They're both words are formed in different ways and different relationships to each other. And just as a ticket machine is a machine that dispenses tickets, a railway station isn't a station that dispenses railways. It is a station through which the railway runs. So we just intuitively know. And a car park is a park or a place where you park your car. So it's usually intuitively obvious from the meaning of the word itself what the relationship between the separate elements of the compound is. And it's exactly the same. And people fuss a bit about compounds in Sanskrit and Pali, but we do exactly the same in English. And you normally just intuitively know what it means. And there's very rarely any real ambiguity. And if you look at Surameria Majja, we know that these are three types of alcoholic drink. When they're put together like that, it's clearly a dwandwa compound. A plus B plus C, A and. Has that explained it for you, Sarah?
It has indeed.
I'm glad to hear it. So,
James,
Simon,
can I ask about the Devanagari, where you've broken it up like that into words? Is that how it's normally written?
what the way I've written it in the top box on the shared screen now?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, the way I've written it in the Devanagari is exactly how it is, unless I've made a mistake, which I don't think I have in this case, but that's exactly how it would be written in the Devanagari script.
I mean, just Sarah's point reminded me of trying to start with water, which terrifying, because he says isolated. He says don't worry about words, worry about sentences and inflections to begin with. It's useful to study words in order to understand the sentences, but like roots and stems, isolated words are in fact mere abstractions devised by grammarians for the analysis of language. In the Indian tradition of writing, words are not separated, and each sentence appears as a continuous piece, as in speech. Only by grammatical analysis can words be abstracted, marked by certain inflections. So he begins by saying, "Don't worry about words at all." Which is why it's so terrifying. So I was wondering whether the Devanagari there, presumably your first little symbol there is yum, top left.
Yes, yum.
Why it's a sentence as opposed.
I have the greatest love and respect for A.K. Warder, but I think that sentence is actually very open to challenge.
Maybe he's hallucinating.
I feel a little bit shy about actually accusing Warder of hallucinating, but I think that statement is made far too broad, and you can not only can you look at the words in isolation, analyze their meaning, but you can even break a word down. Just for example, does anyone have a problem with the way I've broken antara, anantara, anantarika? And you can analyze the words. You can talk about nibbana, and you can analyze nibbana, nirvana. So not only can you look at the word as a word, you can also break it down into its separate elements and into its Indo-European roots. So actually, on this particular one, I'm going to stand up on the barricade and fight that. I think he's going much too far in making that assertion. It's one of the ones where rather than say he is wrong, I will say much more politely, it would be wonderful if he were to be given the opportunity to defend his position under cross-examination. Sadly, we will not have that opportunity. Like I think Professor Bruff was it, who is reputed to have said that he wasn't going to. Somebody said, "Why don't you do a translation of the Dhammapada?" He said, "No, I'm not even going to attempt it because it's far too difficult." Well, hang on, hang on. That my reaction to that is I would be really interested to have a discussion with Professor Bruff as to why he said that. Because yes, there are bits of the Dhammapada, of course, that are not immediately evident what they mean. But any self-respecting scholar would at least have a go, do his best to interpret and understand, and the benefit of his work then will be picked up by the next scholars. And there are plenty of very good interpretations of the Dhammapada. So it's weird that he said that. But that's really a case where I wish I had the opportunity to ask Professor Brough to explain very precisely what he meant by saying that with examples. So my advice to you, Simon, is I'd take water with a bit of a pinch of salt there. I think that statement is highly open to challenge. As hopefully these lessons demonstrate, we can minutely analyze down to Proto-Indo-European monosyllabic roots.
That's why I'm here rather than ploughing through water on my own.
Okay. And you keep on coming back. Very good. So that is encouraging. Those of you who keep coming back. Okay, well, let's just take, for example, let's look at this word ratanam panitam. Well, I mean, you can, of course, you know, ratana is a jewel, panita. The meaning of the word panita, we have analyzed ni to lead, to prani, to carry forth, to carry forward. Pranita, that which is brought out for you, for your guests, for example. So you can analyze these words in minute detail. So what I was at, Buddha, explain yourself, and if it's too late, well, tough.
Defense, what he was saying is that the ni and the pa and the suffix for the declension are in some sense kind of more real than panitam, which is kind of an abstraction, in the sense that anything we look at is an abstraction. We've abstracted it from its context. It's probably best to look at the sentence as a whole and to look at particles and roots and stems before you get involved in the word, which of course is frightening to an English speaker who's a non-linguist, but I think that's essentially what he means.
I think the answer is you've got to do both. I mean, you can look at the entire sentence and you can also delve into it by analyzing the meanings of words. I don't think you have to do one at the expense of the other. You just do both. In fact, what we And what I find really helpful is to you initially just read whatever it is you're reading, maybe the line of verse. Then you analyze it in minute detail. And then you, as it were, put aside the analysis and go back to read the entire verse as a whole, but with the benefit of the additional knowledge that you've gained by the minute analysis. So you don't do one at the expense of the other. Each helps the other.
I think you might do if you've got a mind like water, but I share Sarah's kind of, I have to take a deep breath when looking at that long one in the today. That's a bit of a scary one.
There's one on the question of scripts. There's one quite interesting one that I shall just call up for you. Let me just what am I looking for? Open. On the Devanagari script, just take me a moment to call it up. Okay, this is the text of the Bhagavad Gita, which I'm going through with the Sanskrit class, and this is well, I've taken this Devanagari from an edition published in India, designed to help Indian students understand the Bhagavad Gita. And if you look, the top bit is as it is exactly written in Devanagari, correct Devanagari there, and you'll see this long word there. For the benefit of students, it's split up kripaya, then avishtam, ashru, purna, akula, ikshanam, with hyphens actually inserted into the Devanagari script, which would never be done in regular Devanagari. It's all run into one. But this is just a device used to make it easier for students to say Hindi speakers, or any of them of the modern Indian languages. So this just emphasizes to you, and indeed your point, Sarah, it's all a matter of spelling convention. In this word, you see 4 elements, which then I've represented Ashra Purna Akula Ikshanam. But this Avishtam, you've got an M followed by a vowel. So Avishtam, it's Avishtama. Whereas here it's broken up into into 2. So be careful of the distinction between what is a mere spelling convention and a writing convention and what is the actual language itself as spoken. So before we have a recitation of that, were there any comments or queries? Simon?
Just a little one. On the Parivannayi, is that the same vanna as we get with kind of surface or gloss or gold or beauty?
It is, yes. It is. And Privaneti, to vanna around, to gloss around, to beautify around, means to praise or to glorify. This root vanna It's from the root vri, meaning to cover, is the basic meaning of vri. To cover, and also to cover has the idea not only of covering something over, but also of protecting, you cover something by keeping danger away. And in English, that same word turns up as ward, as into to ward off. And sometimes with the v and the g, ward and guard, which are from the same origin. They both come from vri, meaning to cover. So in Sanskrit, varna, the original meaning of varna is a covering. That's the original meaning of it. And by extension, it means the appearance of something, because when you look at something, what are you seeing? You're seeing the surface of it, just the surface appearance, rather than what's behind the surface of a thing, what's behind the skin of the people that we look at. By further extension, it means color, because you look at the color is just the light reflecting off the covering or the surface of something. So varna, color. It's that same varna which by regular phonetic mutation becomes varna in Pali. It's the same word. In certainly as far back as the Bhagavad Gita, the word varna, color, is also then used to mean one's caste under the caste system. If you put the prefix su in front of it, suvarna, which suvarna means that which has a beautiful color. Suvarna, beautiful colored, something has a beautiful color. By extension, that came to mean gold. One of the old names for Sri Lanka was, and I'll write it with a hyphen, is the Suvarnadweep, literally the Golden Island, Suvarnadweepa. Have I explained serendipity to you? Is there anybody who doesn't remember my explanation of serendipity? Serendipity, the kind of almost like the magic touch of being able to find things just when you want them, serendipity. There's this fairy story about the princes of Sri Lanka, who always, found exactly what they needed at the moment of crisis, you see. And Suvarnadweepa, which is the old word, one of the old words for Sri Lanka, Suvarnadweepa, one of the colloquial shortenings of that was Serendip, Suvarnadweepa, Serendip. So the story was translated into English. It was these princes of Ceylon, the princes of Serendip. I forget who translated it in that way. And that's where we got the serendipity of the ability to find things just when you need them, from St. Suvarnadweepa. And for example, another word for Thailand, another word for Thailand, is the oops, is Suvarnabhumi, Bhumi meaning a land. So one of the old words for Thailand is the Suvarnabhumi, the golden land. So Suvarnadvipa, the golden island, and Suvarnabhumi, the golden land. And in fact, the name of the main international airport in Bangkok is the Suvarnabhumi Airport. So they've gone back to using the old honorific Sanskrit name to name their airport. So from Vanna, we have in Pali, they calls it a verb vaneti, or the denominative verb, I should say, to colour something. Doesn't mean to paint it. It means to describe it, to say what the appearance of something is. Vaneti, to describe. And parivaneti then just means to describe in glowing terms, to praise. And that's the word that we find here in this in this verse. Now I'd like to hear Mr. Warder say why we shouldn't analyse words into their component parts. It's jolly good fun apart from anything else. Where are we? Here we are. Right, so before we go on to the recitations, were there any further queries? Let's have a go then. So, the order in which you appear in my screen now has changed since I first switched it on, so I can't tell who's next to recite. Was it yourself by any chance, Judith?
I think it probably was.
Yes, I think so too.
Okay, so that's better. Yam Buddhasetto Parivanayi Suchim Sadahem Antararikan Nam Ahu Samadina Tena Samona Vidati Edampi Dame Ratanam Panitam Etana Sachena Suvati Hotu.
Okay, right, but do remember carefully about the length of vowels. Etena. So etena sapchena.
Where are we?
If you just look at this
yes, the last line, yes. Etena Sachena Suvati Hotu.
Remember, Sachena. Sachena. Never be shy of giving these vowels their full force. In English, so often we tend to, if a vowel is unstressed, we tend to pronounce it as a neutral vowel. But they want to have their full force. Again, so just say Buddhasetto.
Buddhasetto.
Okay, right. Now the point about these I've explained before that the general rule is that A and O are always long in Sanskrit. There's no such thing as a short E and a short O in Sanskrit. The other vowels, A, I, U, can be long or short. The next rule is that Pali will reflect Sanskrit to the extent that it can. So if an A or an O, and the same considerations apply exactly to both. If the A is either at the end of a word, A or O, if it's at the end of a word, or within a word but followed by a single consonant only, like E, te, na. You've got a single T and a single N, so they're both long. E, te, na. There's nothing to shorten them. However, look at the word setto. It's followed by a consonant cluster, so a double consonant, a double t. So it's pronounced as a short e, setto, setto. In Sanskrit, that wouldn't be possible. In Sanskrit, I've written it here, setto, in Devanagari, if a Sanskrit speaker looked at that, be se to, you can have a long e before a doubled consonant. So that's your rule. E and O always long unless compelled to be short because they immediately precede a doubled consonant. Okay, thank you, Julius. Who are we on to next? Was it you next, Simon?
Yam Buddha Seto Parivannayi Suchim Samadhim Anantarikam Yam Ahu Samadhina Tena Samo Navijiti Idampi Dhamme Ratanam Panitam.
Okay, very good. So, sorry, carry on.
Tena Sachena Suvati Hotu.
Excellent. I see that you took the wise expedient of pronouncing these words as separate words, which is absolutely fine. It is quite a tongue twister to try and pronounce all that, as Sarah was observing, to pronounce that all at once. In fact, a native reader of this language, looking at that, would kind of mentally break it down into the separate words. He wouldn't think, "Oh my God, what a big long word." He would just mentally break it down into those different words, as we can, for example, in English. If you type something and forget to put a space, as native English speakers, we just almost always intuitively know where that space was meant to be. So very good. Who else is here who hasn't yet recited? I think it's everyone. I'm not sure if Fenny is with us. Have you recited? Can you hear us, Fenny?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I've had a very long day, but I will have a try.
I don't wish to impose anything on you, but on the other hand, if you're willing to try, it was certainly very welcome.
Let's have a go. Let's start the camera, which will flash about. It's not very good. Okay, right, here we go.
Okay, Fanny, go for it.
Yam Buddha Seto Parivanna. Yam Buddha Seto Parivanna Yisuchim Samatim Anantarikannam Ahu. Samadhina Tena Samanavijati Idampidam me ratanam panitam etena sachena suvati hotu.
Very, very nice, except can you just pronounce where I've highlighted? Just say that again.
That seemed to me to be the least difficult anyway. Samanavijati.
Okay. Samanavijati, you said. You shorten that. Samanavijati.
Samanavijati. Yes, always long, always, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you see in that kind of thing, if we were pronouncing it in English, like an unstressed vowel coming at the end of a word, Samanavijati. But Pali doesn't have Samanavijati. Okay, very good. So we've got a few minutes left in which we can just start to look at verse 6. So before we move on, were there any further queries about it? And if you have any, you can always raise them there next time round. Okay, let's move on then. Ye puggala atta satambasatta chattari etani yugani hunti te dakkhinaya sugatassa savaka ete sudinnani mahaphalani idam bisanghe ratanam panitam etena sachena, 'Etena Sachena, 'Suvatti Hotu. 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 This refers to the 8 types of people, as according to the Abhidhamma classification. You get the Puggala Panyati, the classification of types of people, like William James, psychological types, and that kind of thing. Ta, this means 8. It's it's shta in Sanskrit, which by regular phonetic mutation becomes atta in Pali. Not to be confused with atta, mostly written with an ordinary dental T, which means the goal, the objective, the going is in karaniam atta kusalena. Distinguish it from atta, meaning 8. Rather confusingly, I don't know why it's done, just is, that where the word atta, which means the goal, it also means the meaning of something. You can see why, because the meaning, the objective of a word, what the word is aiming at, is its atta. But where the word atta, meaning, is used as the second member of a compound, meaning a commentary on something, it subdots the T for some reason. It just does. So whenever you see a word ending with an atta, it tends to mean the commentary on something. That's the meaning of something. Just one of these annoying little quirks that Pali occasionally has. So this ashta atta, it's the same one that turns up in Latin as octa, the sh becoming a k in Latin, from which we get octagon, something with an 8-sided octave. And it's the one that turns up through the Germanic line in German as acht. And in English, we used to call it something like echt, but now we just say 8. We write the GH, but it's silent. So in fact, our word 8 is a direct descendant of this Proto-European ashta, achta. So the 8, well, it says here about the 8, the Pugala acta, normally, as we know, that the numeral precedes the noun, but it can follow it, particularly with the poetic license. So normally would expect the Atta Pugala, the 8 people, meaning the 8 classifications of people. Satam pasatta, prashasta in Sanskrit, mean praised by, praised of the good. Satam, by. Sometimes you can use a genitive instead of an instrumental, praised by, praised of the good. I think everyone understands the form and structure of satam now as a genitive plural of sant. In the absence of any objection, I will take it to be so. Rather like the confession of, is there anybody here who's committed the following offences? Nobody puts their hands up. Very well, says the preceptor, I take it that you are all innocent. So, those which are just these 8 types praised by the goods, sorry, praised by the good. Oops. Turning up what Bhikkhu Bodhi said about it. Kunti, they are, or they constitute etani chattari yugani, these four pairs. The yuga is a neuter noun, means a pair. It's from exactly the same root as yoga, from the root yuj, meaning to join, from which we get our English word yoke. And of course, the Latin jungere, it's from that same old root. Chattarietani yugani hunti. They constitute these 8 classifications of people constitute the four pairs. I can never remember what they are. What are the 4 pairs, anyone? Okay, none of us can remember. No, never mind. Hopefully we will have found out by next time. Te dakineya sugatassa savaka, which probably te sugatassa savaka, those disciples, those hearers of the sugata, dakineya, worthy of gifts. Ete su dinani mahapalani. So dinani, things given, mahapalani are of great fruit. So we're at just gone 5:15 now. We'll analyze this in detail next time round. This dinna, by the way, dinna is an slightly irregular past participle of the root da, meaning to give. So dinna means given. Dinani, the neuter plural, is things given, therefore gifts. And in the second precept, we get adinadana, the adana, the taking of the dinna, of the ungiving. So adinadana is adinna adana, literally the ungiven taking, the taking of that which is not given. But we'll explore that in detail next time round.
It's very like the recollection of the qualities of the Sangha, isn't it?
It is very similar indeed. Yeah, that's correct, Sarah, because you've got ahuneyo, pahuneyo, dakineyo. That's the supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho, the community of literally hearers, the savaka. I mean, disciples. Ahuneyo, pahuneyo, dakineyo.
But it's also got the Atta Purisa Pugala.
Atta Purisa Pugala, yes, okay, sure, yes, exactly. The Sangha that contains these 8 meritorious or praiseworthy types of people. So yes, you're right. This does very much reflect the language of the Supatipanno. Yeah. Okay, then. Any more before we wind up? Okay, then. Shall we chant the blessing and go our ways? Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanu bhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you for joining me. See you next time round. Thank you. Bye then. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.